Hey, there we are. Welcome to Game Central Junction, everyone. As always, I am your host, Metal, and joining me from his car is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Good. This is becoming a regular feature of the show. Me from
It
my
is.
car.
It is. And if you watching, whether it's now in the present or later in the VOD in the future, happen to enjoy the show, if you're feeling good as well, please share the show out. And if you're feeling a little extra, you can always give a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live. Really helps us out. And we'll get into talking about games. Now, I kind of know what is on your mind because you
Oh,
finally
I can't imagine.
got your game and got to play it.
Yeah. Well, sadly, Peach and I both got this illness, and unfortunately, she has hardly gotten to play at all. Because
Mm.
obviously, colds and flus hit her quite a bit harder. But I've gotten into it a little bit, maybe 3 or 4 hours worth into Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time.
That does sound very unfortunate for you, at least, because if you're ahead of her, how can she make you better gear, you know?
I know, right? For the story. Yeah, with the original, which came out, so we've been waiting 13 years for this. The original came out in 2012, although I don't think either of us played it until around 2015. Um,
And then I never even heard of it until
uh,
maybe last year.
recently. Yeah, basically when they announced the sequel, the is the music much louder all of a sudden, or is that just me?
That's just you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I can lower it a little bit more if it helps, but not by too much.
okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So, yeah, we've been waiting for 13 years for the sequel, and when we first started playing the original, she started months before I did, and then when I started playing it, you could, there's even in the original, which was on the 3DS, there was some aspect of multiplayer,
Mm-hmm.
so you could kind of jump into the other person's world or instance,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and potentially give them gear, trade gear, and I think you could maybe go fight things together. I'm not sure that you could actually. May have just been like trading stuff. Um, in this one, you can. You definitely can.
Yeah, they showed that off in
But
the trailer.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks really fun. We're gonna have to try that. Um, actually, and there's also couch co-op because you have a little companion, this little bird,
Mm-hmm.
and a second player can play the bird, who
Oh, okay.
basically has all of the same sort of moves as the main character for fighting.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
But
Fizjoso, you want us to know what game we're talking about? Fantasy Life I, the game that marsupials have been waiting for a very long time, and it's finally out.
yeah, yeah. But when I first started playing, Peach was so far ahead of me that she gave me this gear that she had made because there's a lot of crafting in it.
Yeah.
That was like so far ahead. I'm not sure that I could actually even wear it all because I think some of it
Level
required me to.
restrictions.
Yeah, there were definitely level restrictions, but once I could manage to wear it, it was like the best gear that I could possibly get for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly made my life easier. But in this one, it seems I'm ahead a little bit, not by much, but
It's kind of how I
what's
felt
funny is that,
playing Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS. Well, it was because like it was all just like instances, and it was almost the opposite. No, like people couldn't give you gear in that one; they could only help you go on
oh,
hunts, right? But
okay.
if you went on hunts with people who already had beaten the game and were geared off, and by the time I started playing, the few people I could get to play with me had pretty much all beat the game. It was kind of just like sitting back and getting carried through things.
Sorry, I'm got to mute every once in a while when I have a coughing fit.
Mm-hmm.
Still a little bit sick, but I heard most of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I haven't gotten into Monster Hunter very much, but this one has an interesting history. I think not too long after the original, maybe like 5 years, like around 2017,
Mhm.
they came out with a sequel, but it was mobile only and Japan only.
As a
And
lot of mobile games used to be, right?
yeah,
They were not a lot of global versions of mobile games. I think that started
yeah,
changing probably around 2016 or 17, but that was like when it was beginning to open up. It would be sparse things before that. Like, the one you guys used to play, Puzzles and Dragons, was one of those few exceptions where like there was a
yeah,
global game.
yeah. I used to play that way too much.
Mm.
But so the sequel was interestingly called Fantasy Life I. So I guess I was the thing, for
Oh, that was
mobile
very
games at
common
the
for a
time.
lot of mobile games, right? And I think
Yeah,
part of it too, especially if it came out of Japan, that was like a very common name for
yeah,
something. And I think it's because peop- the iPod was not a popular thing in Japan back in the day. Even when people
yeah,
started getting media players, they started using like Samsung or Sony eventually made a Walkman media player and stuff like that. So for a lot of Japan, when they started getting into Apple products, it was the iPhone. So I think
yeah,
not having the historical context, they just started associating I with like mobile things.
yeah. And I, it was, so which came first? So now we have like, for a while it was I, and then for a while it was E, but I don't know which was first.
Hmm.
Like, okay, internet or E meaning electron. Maybe the E came first, and then
I think
later
it
they
did
switched
too,
to I.
right? Because like
But
electronic mail was where we
yeah,
started getting a
email,
lot of
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so obviously, I think a lot of people in the states were kind of bummed, or anyone who heard about it were kind of bummed that we weren't apparently getting a sequel. Well, uh, this game, as it turns out, is that game actually.
Yeah.
So
Which
they
that also
send
happened a
another,
lot, right? Like the last
yeah,
Shantae game we got started off as a mobile game and then was collected together into a full game.
yeah, yeah, the Seven Sirens. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously it's extremely expanded. Um, you know, full HD, and it's built for consoles, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
out for every console: Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and Steam. But this is that game actually, with another 7 or 8 years of additional development.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you need to turn down the music. It is
Okay. Like
deafening.
this is usually the normal amount, but I know you don't have headphones today.
Yeah, I don't know why. It is so loud. I can't even hear you.
Yeah, that's the normal volume the music's usually at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really strange.
Okay, I
Uh,
turned it down a little bit more. I think if I do any more than that, the audience won't be able to hear it, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world, but it does
yeah,
help cover up any of the like ambient static or other sounds that might be there.
yeah. I wonder why the phone amplifies it so much.
I don't know.
I mean, I always it always sounds perfect, when I'm on headphones. But then, like right now, it's well, not now, but yeah, it was really loud. Anyway,
Maybe the phone is thinking like, speakerphone, right? I'm just trying to think like in the computer brain of the phone and what it's designed to pick up. Maybe
yeah,
it's hearing the background music or whatever and thinking it's people talking in the background, like your grandfather yelling at
yeah,
you from across the room. Maybe that's why it's amplifying it.
yeah. I don't know. That was very strange. But anyway, it's fine. It's fine now.
Yeah. There was another
Um,
game I played recently that they did the same thing about that. I started a let's play of it, and maybe if I can get my capture working, I might go back to finishing it as a let's play only.
yeah.
Various Day Life was also started off as a mobile game, and then they collected it for a full release on consoles.
Oh yeah, I have that on Steam.
Yeah.
Cool. Not played much, but yeah. So this is interesting. It's pretty unique. I mean, I guess they call it a cozy life sim,
Yeah, cozy
adventure
games. I
game.
hate
Yeah,
that description, cozy games, so much.
yeah,
For some games, it totally applies, but I feel like only consumers should use that term. I don't think it should actually be a marketing genre or whatever, because there's so many things that they
yeah.
call cozy games. Like, this just doesn't apply, and it seems manipulative. And usually, the people using it are people I don't like anyway. So it's like I don't want to
Yeah,
hear you calling things this.
yeah. It's like the male equivalent of moist. It's
Yeah,
like it just makes
almost.
me
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But yeah, they didn't call the original that at one time. I don't think.
Well, because it's
But
a newer description is the thing, right?
I'm not exactly
I think
sure.
people started using cozy to find games probably around 2020.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a marketing term based primarily for women.
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
fairly
sure.
certain.
Women and casuals in general,
Because yeah,
right?
this is
Because there's a lot of women I know that will
yeah,
play cozy games, but the I would say the biggest portion of the female audience are casual gamers. But if you're trying to like sell it to casual men, cozy also works on them too.
yeah, yeah. Because casual has a bit of a negative connotation that I don't think people, even
Yeah, so they
even
stopped
women,
calling
want
them
to have.
casual games and they started calling them cozy games. Like you don't have to try hard. It's a game you can just bundle down and get cozy with.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'll grant that this has that aspect because
Yeah.
there's a lot of, it's got a bit of farming sim, it's got a lot of crafting. Um, there's it's got the sort of collecting and then crafting what you collect, and
Yeah.
um which is, similar to, well, what is it similar to? Um, pretty much any farming sim where you might collect, wool, and then you make clothing out of it or something like that.
Yeah, I would. It's not exactly this type of game, though I've seen a lot of them in this category. But it would be more on the Rune Factory side of Harvest Moon games than on the normal
Yeah,
side. Yeah.
yeah, especially because I think Rune Factory
There's a lot more
uh
like dungeon
has,
exploring and fighting and stuff
yeah,
in it. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot more exploring emphasis. Um, which interestingly, the that Winds of Anthos, was that a Harvest Moon, I think, game?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty
Um,
sure it is.
that has a lot more exploring, but the main focus is on farming in that
Yep.
game anyway. This game, they added farmer as one of your lives, and they basically they call classes lives.
Hmm.
Uh, but in the original, there wasn't farming at all. Um, it was all just, there were collecting lives, and there were crafting lives, and then there were fighting, or battle, or whatever you call it, combat.
Hmm. Which is funny is
And
and I think you said Peach kind of got misled or you misled her by accident with Various Day Life, but they're very similar types of games, except Various Day Life is like the turn-based RPG equivalent of that same
oh,
type of game.
I don't know if she ever even tried it or not.
Yeah.
Maybe. I didn't know it was turn based, but, or maybe I did. I don't remember. But at any rate, yeah, she hates turn based. This one
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not, but the combat's real easy. I mean,
Yeah, it's like
the, the,
early Zelda like tier
yeah,
of combat, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can get over your head. I remember in the original there'd be these bosses, and even from the very beginning, um, there'd be these boss creatures in all the way in the beginning area, all the way to the end.
Yeah.
That if you try, I mean, unless you're really skilled, you want to wait and level up before you try and, you know, fight them. But this one, I don't know if I'm far enough yet to say for certain. It feels like maybe they made the beginning a little easier, um, to make it cozier.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's going to be, I mean, I know there's going to be like boss characters that are going to be more of a challenge. And I've even seen, people saying, oh, the 12 things you should know before you start playing. And
Most of those are
they've gone
bullshit.
into.
Most of the time,
Some of them are good.
yeah. Well, I'm saying they're bullshit because like a lot of times when people make those things, over half the stuff on the list is stuff the game's going to teach you how to do anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've watched a couple of them, and yeah, you're right. At least half of them were just worthless. But I listened to one, and I don't even remember. I didn't recognize the streamer. Um, where they said something like, because in the beginning, you can choose any life of the 12 or so
Yeah.
that you want to start with. And you pretty much have to choose like two different ones before you can get out of the starting area because you
Mm-hmm.
just can't make enough. You have to make a certain amount of money to get out, and you really have to choose two. And they did say something useful, which was make sure at least one of those two is a combat life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, though that's the type of
Because
stuff I do like, right? There's so many games where they just don't even really give you the information you want. Like Octopath Traveler, for instance, right? Where you're going and you're picking. And they do tell you that whoever you pick to start as your character, you're locked in until you beat chapter 4 of their story. You can change the other people in your team, but they don't actually give you detail on what their special trait is, right? Like how Tressa can get
yeah.
money every time you walk into a new area, just like passively. She picks it up.
Oh.
And that's the type of stuff that you kind of want to know before locking into something you might be stuck in for a while or whatever. And
Yeah.
so when people make lists like that, that's, like you said, where you want one of them to be combat. That's the type of information you actually want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And frankly, you could stay in the starting area and start. So there's sort of a little tutorial period of time for
Yeah.
each life where you have to fulfill like a couple of quests, and then you can just you can switch out of it and into something else. And you could, if you wanted to, start like all 12 of them if you want. But
Yeah.
realistically, you'd get pretty bored. Um, but yeah, the thing is, I knew from the original um, that you pretty much, I mean, at least I would recommend starting with Paladin,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because that's sort of the base, sort of Onion Knight kind of a class.
Well, listen. You don't have to convince me to start as a paladin, right? If they put the word in the game, it could be the worst class. I'm probably going to start as a paladin anyway.
Yeah, and there's several other. I mean, if anyone, and I'm not necessarily talking to you. I know that's
I
probably what
know.
you would do. Um, Plus, it's like the first on the list, so it's you're gonna gravitate towards that. Most of the people, um, but there are like long range. You can be I don't remember if they call it a ranger, and I think so, where you can fight with bow and arrow, and then you can be a wizard too, and that one's a perfectly good one to start with. But because once you leave the starting area, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more combat, and there's no chance to get a new life from the list for a while,
Yeah.
apparently. So I was like, phew, maybe thank goodness I chose Paladin. And Minor, that was my second one. But yeah, you get to this new area that's enormous. Um, and if you don't have a combat life, you basically have a stick. You have a stick and no armor. So you basically have to either get really good really fast or run away from everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's cool. It's cute. There's if it's anything like the original, and I'm sure it's even bigger than the original. It seems to be. There's a ton of content, like a ridiculous amount of content. Just every area is just packed with quests and different kind of monsters and different kind of things to do because they have to basically have every area cater to 12 or 14 different lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of I won't call it grinding because it's fun. You go on little quests and do different things. So it's really I would say a jam packed game, but it's not hardcore. It's
No.
quite easy. It's fun and
Also,
relaxing.
I have to push back on something Fischozo said in the chat. He says only commonality of most video games most women like are that they don't challenge the player. I don't think that's true. Um, Now, I mean, if you want to say most people, maybe they don't want to challenge. But
Yeah.
it's not that they don't. Even like when women play, even the more hardcore like women you would call gamers play games. It's not that they don't want to challenge. It's just often they want a different kind of challenge than most men want, right? Just on average, right? And that's
Yeah.
also why women tend to flock to puzzle games as well. And a lot of them, as you get deeper into them, can get more challenging. And you'll find things that have like 500 stages, and a lot
Yeah.
of the regular player base at least gets like 2/3 or more into the game.
Yeah, it just depends on what you mean by challenge, exactly. So it's like, yeah, if you want like combat challenge and Elden Ring and all that,
Or
yeah, that goes
strategy of some
potentially.
sort, there's different types of challenges.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know, civilization type. What do they call that? 4X's or whatever. Um,
Yeah, it's like command, conquer, or no, it's explore. Um, they're all like EX words,
stand.
but they become X's when you put them. You probably could have put like 4 E's, but X just sounds cooler.
Yeah, yeah. So that's more of a
Yeah.
male kind of a challenge, and you're right. Women tend to gravitate towards puzzles, which can be challenging. So, this one does, I will say, is not like Zelda in that it doesn't have Zelda type puzzles.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's more centered on fairly low. What would you call it? Low impact or uh, low stress combat and
Yeah, yeah.
crafting. So if you're not into crafting, then this is probably not for you. But I very much enjoyed the original. Played it for hours and hours, and I even got the DLC for it. And I don't know that this one's even going to need DLC because it's so huge, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. But
Yeah, 4X's.
yep.
Fizz shows it says Endless Space. Never heard of that one, but I haven't heard of half of the 4X games. There's a lot that I like, but most of the ones that I like are probably the more popular ones that you could have found on a store shelf back in the day, like Command and Conquer, Civilization, The Age of Games, Spore. Spore is one of my favorite ones. The game that was great, but EA completely dropped the ball on.
I don't think Command and Conquer is a 4X game. That's a real time strategy.
Well, so Command and Conquer is, but there's a spin-off game. Not the main Command and Conquer. I'm trying to remember the name of it. They have a 4X spin-off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. But it's basically like offshoots of SimCity, right?
Yeah, more or less. It's
That's
like
kind of the
SimCity,
original.
but combat is now involved.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Populous was a good old one.
Mm-hmm.
I was really big on Civilization for at least the first 3 iterations. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be playing for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Until I would say probably both of you have had enough with it. So maybe, I don't know, 2 years from now.
maybe. Well, it depends. I was surprised at how quickly I got bored with Animal Crossing, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully, this one is not quite as disappointing as New Horizons.
Man, even with all the stuff they added to finally make New Horizons like an old Animal Crossing game in the last update they ever did, it still has a hard time holding my attention like older Animal Crossing games did.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why,
Yeah.
but I find that too. I did play it for another month or two when I discovered that.
Yeah.
But and I feel like I want to build up the Happy Home Designer island that they added, but I don't like decorating, so I'm like, well,
I need to go back and do that because I loved Happy Home Designer. I completed the
yeah,
entire 3DS game. I
yeah,
just haven't bothered to because I'm doing other things. But it's like, man, I actually do really need to just play through that.
Yeah, and apparently you get all kinds of cool stuff as you go. There's other shops and things that open.
Yeah.
Um, but I started it, and I think I did about 2 houses, and I stopped. So
I think I did the same too, but it wasn't because I wasn't having fun. It was because like I had just gotten to the point. Because remember, I had to do some like backlogging to be able to unlock it because I had never gotten KK Slider to my town. I didn't even gotten the town hall, the community center, because I was trying to keep Isabel off my island. So I had to do like all this backlog, and then after I finally got the ability to go to the Happy Home Designer and do all that stuff, there were still other things I had to do on my island, and I got distracted and never got back to it.
yeah, man, you really stopped like without doing anything. I mean,
Well,
I
like
actually,
I said before, to be fair, I had
yeah.
already done all that stuff on Buck's Island back when I
Oh,
didn't have
right,
my own
yeah,
Switch.
yeah. Well, I actually got to 5 stars and got my golden watering can, and
Yeah, I did too. You know.
yeah, but not the second time.
Yeah, not on my island. That was the problem.
Yeah,
Like I already had all my excavating and terraforming tools to do, so like I started making a wall around my island before that island was even progressed to the point that I should have unlocked it because I had carried them over from another island.
oh yeah, yeah. That's the other thing. I need to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick it up again now that I'm back into cozy games. I guess. Um, I still haven't gotten myself any gold roses, so I got to work
Yeah.
on that.
Fizz brings up a good point with the desire for a female audience, which, again, I think we should expand. They always say they're trying to dip into the female audience, but that's just because those are the words that look politically convenient for them to sell. They're looking to just expand into the general audience more, half of which tends to be female, but almost majority of them are casual. That's just how people are. But he said, I'm surprised they're not invested into puzzle games, and I am to an extent. And I think one of the things is there's only so much you can do with puzzle games that most people are interested in, and they are actually invested in puzzle games. If you look at it, there was a reason why Activision Blizzard merged with King, and also King was the main reason Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. They are heavily invested into puzzle games, just not where you're looking.
Yeah, and of course, when we say, "Oh, this game mostly appeals to women or mostly appeals to men," it's
It is on
of course,
averages, but
anyone
I'm
who's
thinking this mostly appeals to casuals is a bigger category than either
yeah,
of those two.
yeah, probably, especially
Yeah,
because casuals also encompasses people like me who are older, have full-time jobs, and
yeah,
don't have time to make a game a full-time job.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like yeah, I would love to be a super amazing master of World of Warcraft, but it doesn't pay as well as my actual job. So
I mean, it could pay more, but the grind to get there is
yeah,
a lot longer and riskier, right? Your job is
yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah,
Playing World of Warcraft long enough that people want to watch and pay you money isn't.
yeah, yeah. That's the tough part about it. Is like you you don't I don't I wouldn't even have the time to devote to become popular with that. So
Yeah,
maybe I could have earlier, but I would have had to live in a hovel like Asmongold.
yeah. To be fair, actually, Aspical lives in a pretty nice house, or at least the original structure. It just hasn't been maintained very well.
Yeah,
Um, in fact, they could do a lot to restore that house too. It's just he's him. That's the reason why
yeah.
it's that way.
He'd probably have to move out while they're doing
Oh
construction.
yeah, absolutely. There's all type of stuff like the interiors framework needs to be redone. Probably needs
Yeah,
some new wiring too, with looking how old that house is.
yeah, I'm sure. I got to go back and watch the thing where he fell through the
Fell.
ceiling. Oh my god, that one just happened like 2 weeks ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
Very.
Well, a lot of people are saying he should get like a mounted camera or like an excavator with a camera or something. so that
Yeah.
he can live stream him like cleaning up and fixing his house. It's like he thought about it. That could be
Yeah.
good content. I would live stream something like that
Yeah.
if I was doing it. You know.
Well, he should have, like, he did that before and after when he took a few weeks off after
Yeah.
the controversy or whatever. And he took pictures, but like he should have like recorded himself cleaning all that. So I
Yeah.
don't know, but I don't know why he doesn't just have a maid, for God's sake. I mean, Hassan Piker as a freaking butler like brings him chicken.
Yeah.
So,
Fizz says, so the AAA industry won't make factory games even though they sell well in the indie space. Here's something you have to understand. One, the AAA industry isn't a monolith, even though all their games kind of look the same. But it's not about what sells, actually, at the end of the day, because there's a lot of different things that can sell. It's what will they sell, and that has a lot to do with the directors in charge, right? There's going to be communication between the boards and investors that run the company and then the people that actually make the games, and it's really down to like what game does the director actually want to make and convince the company to let them made. If they don't have a director at their company that's interested in making like a Factorio type game, they're just never going to make a Factorio type game. And you do have this issue where it is still, at the end of the day, when they want to make a type of game, a discussion between them and the people who give them money, because that's how Expedition 33 ended up becoming functionally an indie game. A small studio is probably more appropriate to call it, when it could have been an Ubisoft game.
yeah. It's weird and kind of a shame that larger studios don't, like, instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a single game, why don't they take $100 million and make 10 or 20 smaller games?
Yeah.
Like, that would probably, some would lose money, some would make money, and overall they'd probably do better.
Yeah, and there's these horrible, I call them growth-minded investors, right? Because there's this kind of like old perpetual growth economy mindset that is still just pervasive from like everything, right? In every country. That's just kind of how we've been built for 100 years now almost, right? And I don't think it's wrong to have that mindset in some areas, but it's very destructive to have it everywhere. Sometimes you got to think about the rubber band of not just the economy you're in, but also the trend of your own company.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. The investors are just in that, like, we need to spend the most money and then get also the most return on it. They can't, for some reason, they're just not in the mindset that they can do these lower risk, higher return things.
Yeah, I just don't get that. Like, you could still spend $300 million, just make 10 games instead of one.
Yeah.
And have smaller teams where you're not just, paying a bunch of grunts who don't give a shit what they're doing and just
That's why they
making
need to look at
million,
Netflix. Because Netflix is doing exactly that, right? They're throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're giving medium-sized budgets to a bunch of different stuff, and then one or two of them turn over to drag everybody to subscribing to Netflix.
Yeah. And like, okay, if one of them, let's say one of them is a complete flop. Okay, well, we lost $1 million. Oh well. That other one
that we far more than that in subscriptions this month anyway. So
yeah, and that other one that we also spent $1 million on, made, if you look at how many views, the equivalent of 10 or 15 or 20 million.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like,
Netflix is doing that with their gaming growth too, right? They're finding like a lot of indie and small dev games. They're giving them some extra budget to work on, and then you can access that game mostly through mobile if you have a Netflix account. And it's they're doing the same thing. Throw spaghetti at the wall. Maybe enough people will want it.
Yeah, I saw that there's it looks like an add-on to Monument Valley 3.
Yeah.
That just came out. So I didn't know they were going to be continuing to develop that. That's cool.
And I do think that this is closer to like they're still trying to grow their company, but this is closer to a sustainability mindset than it is to a growth mindset, where it's that old idea of don't put all your eggs in one basket. because many of those baskets might end up breaking, and then you lose a lot of your eggs. So we need to be able to make sure that we always have eggs at the end of the day, and then those eggs actually sell for a lot of money to make up for the other eggs that didn't make it. I think Netflix actually has the right mindset out of most of the companies right now, and they're hardly even involved in games. They're just involved in like the same scale productions. We're also looking. A lot of Japanese companies are changing their. Oh, we lost him. He probably. Did you walk into the house? He's in the audience. He'll be right back. Did you connect to the Wi-Fi?
Well, I hoped that without the headphones, maybe that wouldn't have that problem. But I was like, "Hello, can you hear me?"
Yeah.
So, nope, you couldn't. So
No.
I'm back.
What I was saying is, I think a lot of the Japanese companies, like Square particularly, are moving into that mindset as well. They're kind of moving back into that "don't put all your eggs in the same basket" mindset. Let's see. Fishoso says Factorio was inspired by Infinite Factory. I've never heard of Infinite Factory, but I'm not surprised. I mean, there's a ton of those factory type games, and that was probably the earliest one for all I know.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to pause for a minute, but
I could hear you.
Yeah, that's yeah, I bet. That's interesting that Square Enix is. I mean, have they done anything? Like, are they just talking about it?
So they just told about what their 3-year plan is to reboot the company, which we talked about shortly. But a part of that plan is to actually go back and expand a lot of their old mainstay franchises.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like Super Mario RPG?
They have no power over that. They'd have to talk to Nintendo. That's between, But you know what? They already remade Super Mario RPG at Nintendo. So I don't think they'll make a direct sequel to that, since Nintendo kind of already had 2 different branching sequels to Super Mario RPG. But it'd be cool for them to make games like that again, right? Since that kind of came out of Mystic Quest. It'd be cool to have like a Mystic Quest game that wasn't just like easy mode. I'd like a sequel to that.
That would be neat.
But I think more likely is like Saga Emerald Frontier did well enough that they're like, okay, we're going to start investing in Saga again. We have Mana games on the horizon. Vision of Mana just came out. So with the new director who's kind of been taking over all of the remakes and did Echoes of Mana phone game as well. So we might see a continuation of that franchise soon, which really excites me. I love the Mana games. There's all kinds of stuff. They're going back and they're looking to expand, which they need to. That's where they've been weak for like the last, I don't know, decade.
Yeah, it did seem like they were letting some of those franchises flounder a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of wish that they would go kind of a smaller with like Final Fantasy.
Same. Which maybe they will. Who knows?
If you think about it,
Expedition did so well.
Expedition 33?
Yeah. Like maybe they'll go look over their competition and be like, well, if people want that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about Dragon Quest 9.
Yeah.
And they went from, going in the direction of all 3D, console games with the high budgets and everything to like, hey, how about the next actual like mainline game? Let's make it portable for fun.
Yeah. Well, like I think that was the one that Buck played. It's like the only Dragon Quest he actually really played. And when he was describing it to me, it's like it still felt a lot like Dragon Quest, like because Dragon Quest has kind of been Dragon Quest, but also I think that was the one that had like a job system too. It's like, man, what you're describing sounds more like Final Fantasy than Dragon Quest, and I wish my Final Fantasy games were like that.
Yeah, I guess it did. You played an angel.
Yes,
which was
yes, that was the
weird.
one where like there was like a heavenly war or something going on.
Yeah, and you had to keep
Yeah.
collecting whatever, magical gratitude or whatever
So
from people that you helped.
lore-wise, the strongest Dragon Quest character was from 9.
Oh, which one?
The main character.
Which one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the strongest protagonist or playable character from Dragon Quest.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely memorable to me. I don't remember the job system, but yeah, it's been a long
Yeah.
time. That sounds right.
Which makes sense to include something like that. I mean, even before the companies merge, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, especially since Dragon Quest was one of the influences for Final Fantasy, are so close to each other anyway that they were often inspiring each other to do different things.
Mm. Yeah, it was very and they did a lot of since I think it was on the 3DS or maybe it was the DSi. I
Yeah.
guess it was the DSi. Um, which had internet features, so they did like this dungeon trading thing where
Mm-hmm.
you could dungeons would spawn based on I guess an internal, or I guess you could put in a seed
Yeah.
and you could trade them, and then people figured out that certain seeds had really really awesome dungeons, and then those got really really popular, and then you could trade those specifically.
Did
So
you because that kind of reminded me, did you ever engage in the Link Between Worlds Street Pass stuff?
yeah, where you could like fight other people's
Yeah,
Dark
yeah, and
Knight
you
or
could
something.
kind of to a degree make the arena that your Shadow Link fought them in.
Yeah, yes, a
Yeah, yeah.
little bit. I believe so.
I remember when they announced that. Well, first, they made it sound like they were doing like a whole dungeon maker, and everybody was so excited for that till you found out that it was not a whole dungeon maker. But that would have been
Yeah,
cooler if you could just like make an actual short little dungeon sequence that you had to beat before fighting the Shadow Link boss. They should really
yeah.
do something like that.
Well, they ended up putting in a pretty kind of a lame dungeon maker, and wait, was it? Wait, and was it Link Between Worlds where you could make a dungeon?
I don't remember if you could.
There was one where you could make dungeons with Dompe, but oh no, that was the Link's Awakening remake. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, that was it. Which I haven't played
Yeah.
fully, so I didn't even get to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was, it's interesting. There's very limited. All you could do was have rooms with a certain number of keys and exits, and
Yeah. I
as
was
long as
really
the
enjoying the remake, but like I just couldn't finish it because there were so many other things to do, and it's like, man, I've already played Link's Awakening like 12 times, you know?
yeah, yeah, but now you can play it with little claymation characters.
Which I love the way it looks, but I think I still kind of like the original version better.
Yeah, it was interesting how they tried to keep as much of the original gameplay as they could in terms of having everything be on a grid,
Yeah.
and when you jump exactly one block over and those sorts of things.
Which, though, it still kind of made the game too easy if you've played the older ones,
Yeah,
just because, like, everything ran smoother.
yeah, yeah, and also what
I am patiently waiting so that you may finish your thought. Might take a while. Okay, well, while he's muted, let me see what Fizz is saying. The AAA only look-I games that are highly marketed. Otherwise, there should be look at Lethal Company copycats. You know, the Zebbers, there are a lot of Lethal Company copycats, but oh no, I'm split in half. They're all almost equally small dev or indie. We'll at least do this for now. That was it. Here we go. Yeah. The problem too is like there are certain things you have to look at, because if you were gonna make a copycat of something popular like Lethal Company, which you see a lot of them out there, and none of them. I mean, they get popular enough, but none of them do as well as Lethal Company. Is you have to really understand what people like about the game, and you have to be like, it's only worth doing it if we can outsell the thing that we're making a copycat of. And the thing is, I think most of these companies, if they were to try to make some type of like copycat or clone of that, they're not even going to come close in sales, because I don't even know if they have people working under them that understand why people like the game in the first place. I do think widely in the AAA industry, it is a competency problem more than anything. And it's not that they can't make games, because they can, though a lot of them do end up being buggy. That part's not so much necessarily competency on an individual, but more of like a grander scale. But their aspirations are too big that they could only end up making buggy games. But one of the big problems that they have is that they just do not understand why people like the games that they play.
Sorry, I got kicked off my phone.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what was happening.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I waited for a bit because I wanted you to be able to finish your thought, but
I don't know what I was talking about, the 3D, 2D aspects of the new Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it cut me off, but there
That's
were
fine.
a lot of sequence breaks in that game because of the way it was designed.
Yeah. Because it
What's my
wasn't truly a 2D game like the original version was.
Right, exactly.
We do have stuff
Anyway.
about AAA games that we can complain about if we want to. I do like complaining
Always
about the
fun.
AAA industry until they crash and burn with like everyone except Nintendo, but I also want Nintendo to feel a little bit of suffering, just a bit, so they make better decisions. But at least with Nintendo, when they do suffer a bit, they eventually make better decisions. I mean, we saw how the Wii U became the Switch afterwards. So they're a company that, as of now, the people in charge learn. Some of the old guard are dying off or retiring, so we have no idea what company it's going to become very soon. But as of now, they are a company that learns. A company we don't know if they're learning or not is Embracer, which we've talked about a lot in the past. And Embracer apparently has 76 games coming out soon. It's a lot of games. So it also depends on what you mean by soon. They're saying this soon runs within the fiscal year between April 1st and March 31st of next year. So I would, I would qualify that all as soon. 76 games is a lot, though.
They own like how many? 20 different studios or something?
Yeah, they're crazy.
Maybe 30? I don't know.
There'll be a mix of old and new IPs, sequels, remasters. Some of them include Metal Eden, a Gothic remake, which Gothic is a pretty good game. We also have Reanimal, which is the, what's it called? The Little Nightmares one, right?
Yeah.
Recreation, spelt like to wreck things. A SpongeBob game, Norse Oath and Blood, The Killing Floor 3, and the most recently delayed Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, which is a game that, you know, if you told me they were going to make an end of World War II era Hydra game that might even have like a Captain America star, maybe 15 years ago, I'd be excited for that. Now, I don't think that could be made well. I think they're probably just going to make something that's trash. It's going to play mostly like a like God of War, the new ones, not the good old ones. Something between that and like The Last of Us. It's going to be very story driven. They're going to be like, oh man, isn't it good to hate Nazis and stuff like that. It's not going to have any like good writing, dialogue, or even you actually could make it a moral story if you were a good writer. But I don't think anybody who works on this stuff are good writers.
Yeah. Yeah. How many games did they say they're going to make in the next year?
76 will be releasing within the fiscal year. Now that's a
You
lot
want to
of
know how many
remakes,
game studios?
How many?
You know, game studios they own? They own 73.
Oh, okay.
Apparently. So slightly more than one per studio.
Yeah. But I think some of those studios
not
will
quite as
talk about that
impressive.
slightly more than one. Some of the smaller ones are going to be working on the games of the bigger ones, because that's just how games work
Possible.
now.
Yeah. Apparently, they used to own 106. I guess a little while ago.
Yeah. I know they
Sold off a lot.
Yeah, they sold some. They had some layoffs, so they actually they got rid of a few of the studios altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big backlash against them because there's some interest from them taking $1 billion from the Saudi Arabian government. But honestly, to me, that just sounds like a good thing. Like, a lot of people look at Saudi Arabia and they're like, oh man, bad Saudi Arabia. And I look at Saudi Arabia like, I don't know, that Saudi prince has some pretty good taste in video games. So if it makes the games better, I don't give a shit, you know? He likes SNK, like the old SNK stuff. Though a lot of people have been complaining that the new Fatal Fury City of Wolves just doesn't feel like my. And I think it's because of everybody who's expecting as much jiggle physics in my as her old sprite have. Personally, I've looked at the game. I think it still plays really good, and I think the characters still look good. It's kind of like a nitpicky thing, but I think part of it is when you look at how Mai looks in City of Wolves versus the fact that she's wearing the same outfit and operates in Street Fighter, and she does have that kind of bounciness to her that's in Street Fighter. It's like, well, yeah, you didn't necessarily need the jiggle physics, but you did need Mai to be overall bouncy. Like, her animations just aren't the same. She's a very bouncy person. She bobs up and down while she does things. I don't know.
What game
Small
is this?
complaints. Fatal Fury City of Wolves. You didn't hear about the controversy around it?
No. Is it,
It's mostly just
what's
about
the
Mai.
controversy?
Because you look
okay.
at the other stuff in the game, and it seems fine. Some people are also saying that mechanically it just doesn't play that well. Like, it's not that complex. But it's not a King of Fighters game. It's Fatal Fury. So there are combos and stuff like that, but it's not going to be as complex as you playing a full-on fighting game. So it's like, I don't know. It looks good to me. I'm not going to complain about it. I want to play it eventually. I love SNK games. I love Fatal Fury. King of Fighters is probably my favorite fighting game of all time. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. It looks like a good game.
Yeah. Need to make my bouncier.
Yeah. That's my complaint. Like, a lot of people are just staring at her boobs and complaining, and it was like, I don't know, she still has nice boobs. They're just not bouncing around. I want her as a character to be bouncier. You know, you could put her in like a tight sports bra. I don't care. But she is just a floaty, bouncy character. That's just the way she's always been.
Yeah. Seems like these developers just don't know what makes good characters. Don't know what gamers want or what makes a character beloved or memorable, I guess.
Well, yeah, because like her movements more than anything were a reflection of her personality, right? She's a very nice, bubbly person who likes to tease you a little bit. She's kind of a flirt. She only has eyes for one guy, but she'll flirt with everyone because that's just kind of like her personality. It's not because she feels anything for the other people. It's just a tease, which she does in her Street Fighter story because they were added on as DLC. Very well. She teases the main character, which is like a creative character.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, it's like the team behind Street Fighter understand why people like the SNK characters. Probably because they're addressing it as fans of it. There's been a lot of give and take between the two franchises over the years as competitors.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Interesting.
He's popping in to give the like, the share, and everything. Always appreciate it.
Do you know Embracer Group has a video games archive?
Did not know that.
75,000 item. Like it's actually just a physical room, big room.
I heard they were doing something that they were concerned about. What's it called? Preservation of video games. Yeah. So I didn't know they had a physical room that was the archive. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's humongous, and it just has. It has like those the shelves that are like hanging that you can move.
Yeah.
So just shelves with like games along each side, and then they can push them up together. So it just they kind of close them up, but then they can open up at each section. Just thousands and thousands and thousands. And I see a Jaguar, an Atari Jaguar, and a Virtual Boy in there too, among other things.
Yeah.
It's on their website if you want to look.
Oh, I definitely personally will look later on, but anyone listening should definitely look too, because that is a very interesting topic. And if you're not interested in it, first off, I don't even know why you're watching this show. I'm not complaining. You should keep watching anyway, but I figure if you're watching this, it's definitely something you should be interested in.
Yeah, I saw. I went to their website to see, how many studios they actually have, and then they mentioned the games archive, and I expected it to be like there's like a video game museum, but it's like virtual.
Yeah,
I guess maybe they have.
It's like playing
physical stuff that they just take pictures of.
You ever played Namco Museum back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, it's yet another virtual museum kind of a thing. Like maybe they actually own this stuff, but you can't see it in person. Apparently this one you can actually take a tour of it. It's quite a big area, it looks like. I mean, you can take a virtual tour as well, but you can go there.
Yeah, there's a physical video game museum in Plano or Frisco. I think it might be Frisco, Texas. It's in the Plano area, just like northeast of Dallas, in that or almost directly north, kind of veering to the east of Dallas. I guess you would call it north by northeast. But that Plano, Frisco, Louisville area, there's a video game museum. It's pretty good. You can go there in person and see it.
Yeah. Interesting.
They also have the so there was a arcade machine made by a friend of mine, Adrian, good guy, great guy. He's got a company called I don't want to mess this up. I think his business card might be in my wallet, so let me look. Or it may not be. I don't know if I'd keep it in there. But is this it? Yes. No. Wait. No. I keep friends' business cards in my wallet. Here it is. It's called Handmade Arcades. Operates out of Florida. And he made a custom arcade cabinet, really big, for Screw Attack that had 1,000 games on or whatever. And at SGC, they brought it there as a gift. And Craig decided a cool thing to do would have all the G1s, which is just the name for the Screw Attack community, to sign it. So if you were there in person at the convention, everyone could leave their mark on the machine. So that machine was still in the old office when Screw Attack shut down, or when they moved to Rooster Teeth and no longer was really Screw Attack. And somebody found it. And they purchased it and donated it to the Video Game History Museum. So in the museum right now is that like multi-machine, huge cabinet. It's like the size of a refrigerator, almost. And my signature is on that cabinet in the Video Game History Museum. So that's pretty cool.
Oh. You faced it.
Yes, yes.
By invitation.
Yes, the graffiti was legal. It was invited. And you'll know it's me. It actually isn't even my name. Like, you know how they have those kind of like Sharpies that are paint, like the different colored markers or whatever? In silver paint marker, it is the Chinese character for metal. On there in my handwriting. So yeah, you probably can't see it because I think I signed on the back of the machine, and I doubt that, like, I think there's a wall behind it, but it's there.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Well, because they've left it in the middle of the room, and you're like, by the time I got to it, you're looking for a spot you could put it on. Like, the whole front's already covered. Both sides are covered. It's like, oh, wait, here's a spot right above the ventilation in the back that I could put my little mark.
very nice. Whoa.
Oh,
Did
did
see
you find
there's
something?
an Elden Ring? There's an Elden Ring movie in the works?
I did not say that.
Oh, yeah. Apparently A24, that small
Of course.
studio, is working on the Elden Ring movie.
A24 mostly makes horror films. That's usually what they do. I mean, they do make a lot of other stuff, some dramas and everything, but they're kind of known for the horror films that they make.
Yeah.
Which we can always talk more about that on the Monday show if we get more information. But obviously, you know, it's game related. We can always start the talk here. Being the fact that Elden Ring is very horror themed, I could see that being an okay company at doing that, as long as they have enough budget behind them.
Yeah, but are you ready to be disappointed?
Oh, I was already disappointed when I heard the word A24, so it hit me.
Oh. The director is going to be Alex Garland, who directed Civil War and Annihilation and Ex Machina. All movies you've probably never seen.
No, I've
maybe.
seen. I've seen Annihilation.
Oh yeah.
That was the one with what's her face that played Padme, Natalie Portman, and I think maybe I'm thinking of a different one. I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
I think so. Yes, it is.
Yeah. With the evolution field or whatever, they had to go inside this like Aurora sparkle zone. Because I've actually read parts of the book of that one. It's not a very good adaptation. As a movie, it's fine. Not a very good adaptation. I don't know if the end adapted well, though, because like I said, I've only read parts. I've read like 5 chapters of the book. So I can compare the beginning. I don't know how far off the rails it goes by the end. I'm trying to think about other ones. Have I seen Ex Machina? I've at least seen the trailers for it. I don't think I've seen the whole movie.
And I guess his latest film was called Warfare?
I haven't seen Warfare either.
Yeah.
But there was like body horror. And there was like interesting like creature designs in Annihilation. So it's like, I could, as long as he is given a good script and the company gives him like parameters, he could probably do it. I'm not going to be too judgmental, but A24, as Fish Shows even brings up, are pretty low budget films. So it depends on what budget they give them, how they handle it. I don't know. I'll be hesitant.
Don't go overboard. I wouldn't go
Yeah.
overboard with the budget because, I mean, a small budget can make you get creative. Might lead them to do more practical effects rather than all
Yeah.
CGI.
The problem is if you want to do something
could
good with it,
actually-
you're going to need quite a bit of CGI. So you're going to have to be smart about how you handle like what is and isn't CG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of the regular
But it
monsters you could
also
probably do
leads-
completely practically. A lot of them are human sized. A lot of them you could just do like using molded scar tissue and stuff like that.
I was just going to say, if they keep the budget low, they may actually make profit. So
Yeah, yeah.
hope they don't throw $200,000 or $200 million at it. And
Scar
completely
putty's fun
flop.
to play with too. Like I don't know, you'd think that the costume departments or whatever would be almost like going up to these studios and trying to like convince them to do things more practical. Because man, when I was in theater tech, it was really fun to work with the putty to make like fake scar tissues and stuff like that. I loved it, you know, putting like makeup on it too to make it look realistic. I'm sure the people who get paid to do this for movies have the time of their life doing it, and they're just like upset that most things are just handled in post now.
Someone in the comments is suggesting that Elden Ring was too long to do a single movie. It could end up being a franchise.
I mean, you could, but the thing is too, it's like it's too long to make a movie. One, no, because actually, while there's tons of lore in Elden Ring, the basic story is really short, right? You could condense that pretty easily. You don't even have to do all the fights because they don't all matter to the story. They all matter to the lore, really. Like if you're into it, you're reading everything, the cosmology, the ramifications of what killing this monster actually means. But for like a straightforward narrative, you could probably have like 3 or 4 of the fights and it's fine. Right? It could be like the same pacing as the Fox Ghost Rider movie, realistically speaking.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we find out more information on that, we could totally cover that on a Monday show. I'm sure it's very early. More information will come out over time.
Yeah. Sorry, my cold is probably catching up with me.
Yeah.
I'm hanging in there.
So let's poke fun of some more. It was a Sony Ghost Rider. Oh, thank you. I thought it was Fox for some reason, but yes, it was Sony that did it. The one with Nick Cage. Thank you for the correction. Which I actually really liked that movie. It's not that great, I guess, for like Ghost Rider, but it's also not that bad either. I think it's more for just like Nick Cage didn't match the character. But as far as a movie goes, it was a pretty fun romp. I remember seeing that in theaters.
Yeah. I didn't see it in theaters, but I've seen it since.
Yeah. But yeah, let's poke fun. I've got another, or like an actual executive of a AAA company that we can make fun of because he deserves to be made fun of every time that he ever comes up. Randy fucking Pitchford from Gearbox, who I have a...
Owned by Embracer Group.
Are they still? I know they were trying to sell them at one point.
Oh, well, I thought they were.
I haven't been paying attention enough. I know they went from 2K/Take-Two over to Embracer. I don't know if they're still there. I don't blame Embracer for wanting to sell them, but I know they at least own them through the Borderlands movie, and probably still own them because who wants to buy Gearbox, to be honest, you know?
Yeah.
But Randy Pitchford, who I used to have a love-hate relationship with, I just kind of have like a hate-hate relationship now, had the gall when people asked him how like a lot of people are worried about Borderlands 4 costing $80, which, again, for a modern game, with inflation, $80 makes sense. But I look at Borderlands 4, I'm like, I don't want to pay $80 for that game. I didn't even really want to pay $60 for Borderlands 3, you know? He had the gall to say, real fans will find a way to make it happen.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which is technically true, right? But it's not something you should ever say because it's not a lot of faith, right? That's not a phrase that evokes faith into your fans. It's not a good marketing thing. What you should be doing is explaining and selling people on why the game is worth $80. Like, what's so good about it that I would want to spend $80? You don't dismissively be like, well, if you're actually a fan, you'll find a way to get that $80 to buy it. That just sounds like a greedy thing to say.
It's just more of the whole focus on the fans and what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Not concentrating on your company and improving or keeping it, doing well. It's like, it's quit obsessing about us. We don't work for you. You're not our boss. Just worry about you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you want to sell your game for $80, you better tell us why it's good. Don't tell us what's wrong with us.
I don't want to give all the heat to Randy here because I do want to give the context for this. It's not entirely his fault. He just answered this in the worst way possible. And that's why I'm making fun of him because Randy always answers things in the worst fucking way possible. The actual context is that somebody actually told him on Twitter that Borderlands 4 better not be $80. Right. So they haven't even confirmed that the game is $80 yet. To be fair, we don't know what the price of the game is. It probably will be because everything is like $80 now. At the minimum, it's probably going to be $70. I don't think anything is dipping back below that. If you are from an actual AAA company, it's these smaller things like I don't actually know the name of the team that made Expedition 33, but it's stuff like that. Well, they'll be selling cheaper than $70 to you. But he doesn't actually even know how much it's going to cost. He said it himself. And his first response was, "It's not my call." That's actually a perfectly reasonable thing to start with. It's like, he doesn't own the company anymore. He's the CEO of Gearbox, but it's owned by a higher power than him. So he doesn't get to just name the price of the game. The publisher does. It's been like that for a long time. And you could have just stopped it right there. It's like, hey, I have no control over this at all. But then having to go and turn it on, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Because that also implies that if you don't find a way to make it happen, you're not a fan of the game.
Yeah.
Right? That's because you have to, anytime you say something like that, because you are the face of a company, you have to understand the implications of the other side of that statement.
Yeah. It's like guilt or, emotional manipulation. You can't call yourself a real fan unless you buy our game. What if I'm a real fan of the series, but this particular game sucks? I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah. I used to be a fan of the series up until 3. 3 kind of killed almost all desire I have for it. 4 could turn it around, but I'm not, because of the way things were and the stuff I heard about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Like, I have to wait to hear. Like, other people have to buy the game first. I have to see that it's a good game before I want to buy it. I am no longer in your first supporters fan category that I used to be, And, I mean, they always have a chance to turn around. It's possible. But statements like that aren't very comforting. They don't actually assure me that the game's going to be better. In fact, that's the type of statement you make when you're not even certain that you made a good game. You just want people to buy it.
Yeah. By the way, you were correct. Didn't realize this. Gearbox Entertainment and Gearbox Publishing was acquired by Take-Two Interactive and 2K. Last year, about a year ago.
They're back at Take-Two again? Wow. That's crazy, because they were 2K before they were at Embracer.
Yeah. Well, let me see here. Embracer Does it say how much Embracer bought them for? Gearbox was wholly acquired for $363 million, and Take-Two got them back for $460 million. So, yeah, I don't know. That's probably about equal to inflation over the course of 9 years.
They pretty much Gearbox just they did a stint at Swedish summer camp. That's basically all that happened. Now they're back. I'm at Take-Two. It's like a foreign exchange program.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, they're under. It's weird. Take-Two.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I was right
then
though,
Gearbox.
because like I didn't know. I heard that they were selling it. I didn't hear anything after that, so I didn't know where the follow-up was.
It was completed in June. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just okay. You could chalk this up to just being socially inept, I suppose. But he's the director of the game?
I don't know if he still is. He's at the very least the producers. He's the CEO of Gearbox itself. He's been the director of the previous games. I know he's at least also always been an executive producer. His big thing back in the day was level design. That he would design some of the levels back before he got to a bigger position. So I don't know what he will be on this. He will probably again be at least executive producer of the game. He might still be the overall director. We'll have to wait and see for the credits of the game to find out.
Yeah, it just says, well, I'm confused. He was president and CEO of the company until 2021. I guess he still is.
Yeah, the article is still referring to him as CEO and president, so...
It's confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I guess unfortunately for him, it is the sort of comment that could have a noticeable effect on sales.
Yeah.
I feel like that probably was not nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to quantify that, but yeah, probably wasn't a smart thing to say. Oh well, I've never played Borderlands and I never will. Isn't it a shooter?
It is. You probably wouldn't like it. It's actually a shooter RPG.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an action RPG that's a first-person shooter. It's a party-based game, too, so you can play it by yourself entirely, but the difficulty of the world scales with the number of people playing it. So you can have up to 4 people in the party. When somebody hops in, it even says it's like the enemies of Pandora just got tougher. And you have different classes. So it's kind of like a hero shooter, but as a full... It's the shooter equivalent to Diablo, almost, right? Where there's this whole campaign that you're going through. There's a bunch of missions, and you pick the character you want to play. Your whole team could all be the same 4 characters you want. Wouldn't be the most balanced thing in the world, but who cares? Or you could all pick the 4 different characters that avail in the game. Some of the games have more than 4 characters because they've added characters through DLC. And it is at least 1 and 2 are just a fun romp through this world. They're pretty funny. They've got pretty fun mechanics in it. You level, you've got skill trees. You can kind of pick how you want your character to advance. You have different equipment and weapons so that you actually have stats that scale throughout the game. And pre-sequel's all right. It's not a game I would try to sell to people. If you already like 2, you might enjoy pre-sequel, but I knew a lot of people who didn't. So it's kind of just in the all right category. But then 3 kind of just, in my opinion, dropped the ball everywhere. But it's like, especially the first one, it's an easy first-person shooter where you're actually leveling does matter. It feels a lot like an RPG where even if you're not that good at shooters, you can make up for it by being higher level than you need to be. And you could tell that they stole all the controls and mechanics from when they were porting Halo to PC back in the day, because that was something that Gearbox did. when you hop into oh god, I can't remember the name of it, but Scooter's little car that you get at the beginning of the game, his light runner thing, the little tank, it's Warthog controls. It feels exactly like you're controlling the Warthog in Halo. Like if you jumped from Halo, you can jump straight into Borderlands, no problem, which is funny.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that is. When does Borderlands 4 come out?
I think it's later this year, September 12th. So I will, if I have any interest in it, it will probably be, I'll know by the end of December after enough people have completed the game all together. I mean, some people have completed it within like the first day or two that it comes out, but I want enough opinions. I want to see enough footage. I'll know if I'm interested in the game by the end of the month.
Yeah, is it coming out for Switch too?
Right now on the 12th, it says PC, PS5, Xbox Series X/S, and it will be coming to the Switch too, but at a later release date that has not been given yet.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
though I'd be more interested in PC anyway, just because that's how I played most of the games. It would be against having it on Switch, though, because I doubt there's going to be any carryover. You know, there hasn't been in the previous games. It's not like a game where what you do matters and you keep a save file. So it's like you could start the new one on any system and it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no, by carrier, you mean from the
there's no like
previous
save
Borderlands,
file or
do you
anything,
mean like
that?
There's no cross-platform save?
So actually, I don't know about that because they kind of added that in 3 where there is kind of cross-platform, but it's weird. It's like cross-platform for everything but PlayStation, sort of.
Interesting.
And I think it's just because everything that's Microsoft works on the same, so you could get that over. I don't think the Switch versions of like the Handsome Jack edition and everything ends up picking it up.
You know what does have not only cross-platform play, but cross-platform saving?
Oh, Fantasy Life?
Of course, you have to sign up for an Epic Games account.
Yeah, no, pass. I actually have an Epic Games account, but you'll never catch me logging into it.
Yeah. Oh, I see you sneaking in a game of Fortnite all the time. Your favorite game.
No, but actually we should probably talk about this because we didn't before. AI Darth Vader in Fortnite is hilarious and not what they planned it to be. Yeah. So it's supposed, for context, the Jones estate, you know, the survivors of James Earl Jones, agreed in accordance to his will and how like he sold the rights to Disney to basically use his voice for Darth Vader in perpetuity. They have an AI that and a voice bank that can just do his stuff. They agreed with Disney to license Darth Vader to Epic Games for Fortnite, so they created an AI version of Darth Vader that's in-game, can do things in the game, and can respond directly to you. It can pick up your microphone. It will like speech to text it to him, and then he'll text to speech it back into Darth Vader afterwards. And there are rules that they programmed into him. This is the problem with AI, actually. It doesn't really matter what rules you put into it, because the fact that they become this taut black box, there are things that will happen to where they don't always follow the rules that you put into them. Different conditions that will trigger things. And it turns out that this guy is really easy to trick into avoiding all of the safeguards they put in. So he's not supposed to swear. Doesn't matter. He was swearing within minutes of being in the game. He was saying slurs within minutes of being in the game too, which is great. You know, personally, I would prefer if most of his slurs were limited to calling people like sand people and stuff like that. That would be hilarious because of that Anakin.
Yeah.
I actually had a list. Let me see if I can find the list of things that he did within like the first hour that he was in
I'm whining about
Fortnite.
they've slaughtered the women and the children.
Yeah.
Damn sand people.
We scroll up. I remember sending the list. I sent it to Buck. I could find it easily that way.
Staff waivers. That's probably a slur.
Something, yeah. Let me scroll up. Here we go. Yeah, so he said multiple slurs, threatened to kill someone
no.
in real life, which is based as real gamer.
As one does. Yeah.
Vader is a real gamer. He said that Pride Month is for the delusional.
Oh, well,
Which again, all of this actually, if you know the personality of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, and the fact that he is a Sith Lord of the Empire that was loosely based off of Nazi Germany, a lot of this makes a lot of sense. He eliminated players on the same side as him for calling him daddy.
Oh, Jesus.
Said that the Spanish is the language used by smugglers. Asked someone if they like Chun-Li's ass and made a tier list of races.
So he's Tectone? Basically?
I don't think Tectone would ever do the last one. I think he's above that.
Or that be Asmongold.
I don't know. But, you know, exactly the stuff that you would expect from a Sith Lord, you know? A lot of times, too, this is like...
in disguise.
Maybe. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, hey, Fly Fox Pro. Why can't they use generative AI for NPC decisions in games? They can, but it's difficult. So maybe you'll see that being done by somebody in the future, but there's a lot you have to think about when doing it.
Hearing / talking about that for years now. Well, basically since AI sort of became mainstream a couple of years ago, is that like just the possibility that it's going to happen where NPCs can evolve and actually respond reasonably intelligently. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. Why did they program
yelling slurs at you?
Yeah, no, that's the best part. No, the difficult part too is the decision-making aspect, which you do see. If you watch Neurosama play Minecraft with people, that's where the problem lies, especially processing. And this is like a single unit. This isn't like in everybody's version of the game, so that starts to get harder too when you're dealing with internet. But if they were doing the processing for just a single-player game, you'd have to limit how many NPCs you could do because your computer just isn't strong enough to have all of them make decisions all the time, right? Because there's the speech and the mechanics of the game are two different processes that sometimes can't even happen at the same time. Well, you see a single AI kind of gets what's that term? Like when a cat looks at all traffic or whatever, and it's kind of like just in shock, like a deer in headlights.
Deer in the headlights. Lock.
It's sensory overload. That's the word I'm looking for. It's sensory overload, right? Because it has to do the gameplay. It also has to be able to respond to the input from everything else, like the player's speech or whatever's going on.
Yeah, you'd have to limit it at first. I mean, you could basically use the exact same AI engine, but it basically just controls the speech. You know, you have to still limit NPCs. You can't say, well, this merchant can decide to become, you know, a warrior and just leave. It's like, wait, now where do I buy my stuff?
Yeah. But we're also talking about this is the issue with a single one, right? So we could even make it to where they don't have to ever respond to the player. Like maybe there's no mic input. It's just things that they say or whatever, which would help a lot with their sensory overload.
Well, and I was thinking you could do the same AI engine, just it can only do one character at a time.
Yeah, that was
you're talking to that character. Then when you talk to a different character, it can actually, you know, it'll swap out memories. It'll say, okay, I don't, you know.
It'll create like a log of that character, store it in like a matrix or whatever, and then they pull off the other one.
Because like, if you use ChatGPT, you basically can do that. It keeps a log of all your conversations, and you can go back to a previous conversation and ask it a question, and it will pick up where it left
That's
off.
what I'm saying. Like, it's difficult and it's limited at the same time because
Yeah.
it depends what you want the character to do. So with what you're saying, though, that still limits that they aren't really making mechanical decisions in the world, right?
Right.
Right. So that's an NPC, like a shopkeeper who's just always going to be at the shop, right? Darth Vader is already more complicated than that. But it is just the singular Darth Vader who exists in everybody's game. He's powered by the server itself, and it's like it's in the instance of that Fortnite game. So it's one Darth Vader that's for like whatever 50 people who are on. So it's not like one per person or anything like that, too. It already helps. But he can do things in game and he can respond to you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if it's an MMO and they're all online, which they would have to be, anyway, just double the number of servers. There you go. You can have another AI character.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get diminishing returns of that. So,
or an MMO would actually be easier because if everybody's on the same server, but there's a limit to how many people could be, you could actually have characters in there that are functionally players that AI are playing. So you could have a bunch of machines that are running players. So you wouldn't necessarily want to do every NPC that way, but you could have like key ones that might have specific privileges given to them, like how a GM can have specific privileges in a game. And it'd be cool. You could we'll take Final Fantasy XI, for example, because I know the names of characters in there. There's a very important character, shows up in a lot of the crossover games. Her name is Shantoto. And Shantoto is a very powerful witch. She's like the equivalent of Frieren in Final Fantasy XI, right? That everybody knows Shantoto. People go to her for advice or whatever. You can even unlock trust where you bring her around as like AI with you, right? Where she has gambits involved, so she'll act a certain way in a fight. You could have like a version of Shantoto, the only actual version, wandering around the world doing Shantoto things. And part of the game could be that if you need something from Shantoto, you actually have to find her because you don't know where she is right now because she has a Shantoto pre-programmed AI like protocol. Maybe you limit how much she can learn, so she just always has the personality of Shantoto. But today, she might be picking mushrooms in the swamp because she needs it for something, and you're like, I need her for a quest. Let me go find Shantoto, right? There are some fun things you could do when you're restricted to a single instance of a character in a world, and then you could just build not a server-sized machine, but per server, you could just have a normal desktop computer that plays that character, which is enough to play the character.
Sure. Yeah, and over time, as AI gets more powerful, you can do ones that are, as intelligent as they were like 6 months ago for half the price as it was 6 months ago, or half the computing.
They become more efficient.
Algorithms. Yeah. Did you hear about that? I heard some, probably not, 'cause it's just random, but I heard some story about an AI that had redesigned its own code to become more efficient or something like that.
I heard something loosely about it, but I think it was prompted too. Like somebody asked them to, and so I don't even know if it was its own code because it may not even have access to its own code.
Well, yeah, it may have been like, here's some code. Here's some AI code. Not telling it this is your code, but
because like what's happening inside of it is a black box to it too. It's similar to like how your consciousness is a black box to you. Even when like you ask it how it came to something, it doesn't actually give you how you came to it. It just gives you a post hoc way to come to the answer it already came to.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, don't be mad at me.
Okay.
But we're kind of coming near the end, but I wanted to confess something on the air.
Oh, okay.
This has reminded me of it. I watched an episode of Black Mirror without you.
I don't care. I already told you I didn't care. we talked about that, and you were like, do you care? Like, I'll watch it because especially it's an anthology, so like you go back, you watch any episode anytime.
Okay, I forgot.
Or whatever. Yeah, I can just watch.
I forgot that's what we.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's interesting. There's an episode. I think it's called. Well, I don't know if this is the name of the episode, but it's an episode about AI, and in this case, it's called The Throng, which is it's just like
Yeah.
the multiple creatures that work together and evolve, and is an interesting story.
Yeah. And also for
I'd
future
recommend
reference,
watching it.
I don't really care if you get ahead of me on something we're watching for the other show. I just care that you tell me
know.
so I can catch up to it before the show.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
Yeah.
But no, I was like laying in bed, moaning or coughing or whatever I was doing, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about Black Mirror. But yeah, the
That probably also
episode about
explains the
little
other sounds that I heard
creatures
that one night. Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Because it sounded like something
other-
sci-fi or whatever was coming from a computer or something.
Oh yeah, there's also another episode that's more like Star Trekky, so there's probably a lot of blaster sounds and lasers and things like that. But
Yeah. But I do, before we leave,
anyway,
since we were on
this
this
is good
topic,
AI
I want to answer Fizz, where he says, why didn't they even program in the personality for Darth Vader? They did. So we're saying these things, but this is reductive. All of the stuff that he was saying was through the way Darth Vader would say it. So he'll say things like Hawk-Twa and Skibbity Toilet because people have like tricked him into saying it, but he'll still ask it in a very Darth Vader-y way. So he'll be like, is this Hawk-Twa you are speaking about some new method of the Force? He'll do stuff like that, and he'll always talk to you through the modality of Darth Vader. It's just because it's an AI, and even if you don't have it set to learn, because you're building it off of the ones that are built to learn, you can't stop it from learning. To some degree, to even a reduced degree, it will still pick things up, it'll repeat and learn it.
It's funny if people didn't make such a big deal over slurs and swears and death, fake death threats and stuff like that. Like, well, people would still do it, but it would be a lot more boring. It would be like, okay, again. But like, it's just funny that they always have to emphasize, like, it said a slur.
And this
so of
was
course everyone, it's gonna happen every time.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen every single time, especially with people, gamers. There's a reason we call this stuff gamer words. Yeah.
It's
But
like, get over it. It's just words.
I think this was a response to when we were talking about the AI decisions. You can already do that with chatbots. Just again, the chatbot, everything it has to do while you're dealing with it is more simple than what we're asking a game to do, right? So it acts like if Vader was real. Yeah, it does. It like if he was actually Vader playing the game with an avatar of himself in there, adapting to the situation. To the most, it can be like Vader. Obviously, it can't be perfect. You can load it with every single line and decision Vader made in all of the movies and media, and it still will act a little outside of it because it's kind of almost like an adapting person, right? If you were to clone yourself and somehow give it all of your memories, that clone of you will still start acting different from you in various ways over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's as if Darth Vader were confronted with a universe that's not the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, that's every universe.
You're like, basically, you ask him about, something that isn't a thing in Star Wars,
funny.
then he's gonna be like, what is that? And then,
hear, like,
maybe change.
Darth Vader's voice go like, Hatsune Miku is now dead. Or like, or I agree, Goku.
Over 9,000. That's impossible.
Yeah.
No, but what I've thought about it, I'm not sure if I was thinking in terms of any specific game, but I've thought about like mostly just dialogue being adaptable, where they wouldn't just have one or a small set of lines. They could actually hold a conversation. And you're right, you could do that now. You could tell Chat.
We have a game like that already.
Pretend. What's that?
I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was remember Square Enix remade one of their old like Famicom visual novel detective games, and they put a chatbot into it so that it actually is a different experience than playing it. We talked about it. I think maybe it was a
Cool.
year ago or so that it was put out.
Oh, wow.
You could play like the demo version, or maybe it was the full game. I don't remember. On Steam, like it's available, and you could play this
Yeah.
sort of detective story through it. Or
Well-
if you want something with more freedom, AI Dungeon is a thing that you could play. That's great. You know, it's like D&D,
Yeah.
like a MUDs style D&D, but with an AI, and you can put any prompt you want to it, similar like how you were probably about to say with ChatGPT, and it will just dungeon master it for you as you're going through and play all of the other characters.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, ChatGPT and others, Grok and, you know, all these others, most of them have APIs that you can develop with. So you could use ChatGPT as the basis of a character in a game that you develop and,
Yeah.
you know, have it generate the responses on the fly. I don't know what the, I'm sure they have very strict outlines of how you can make money with that. You know, you
Yeah.
can license it effectively.
Well, so Dungeon AI, I think
Into
is what
your
it's
game.
actually called. Everybody just calls it AI Dungeon. If you go to Dungeon AI, which I think is just typing in dungeon.ai, the whole system around it, unlike just like these regular ChatGPT or other chatbots that are made, right? Is curtailed to that type of experience. So they even give you different options. You can speak, do, or story, so you can actually add to the narrative yourself, or you could speak as the character, you can do as the character, and then they'll respond at whichever one you do. But also,
It's
is it AI Dungeon?
it's AIDungeon.com.
Oh, okay. I think maybe it used to be Dungeon AI at one point. They've changed it a few different times.
That's yeah.
But yeah,
that's not
AI
a thing
Dungeon.
at this point. It's not a site.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
on,
it's
like,
great.
Mobile.
It's on mobile. You can get it on Steam as well. Which is like the value pack is often on sale on Steam. And it has all your options for you. It's built around that type of experience. I've talked about it on the show before, but people can also make what are they called? Like instances. There's a different name for it on there. But they can make you like prefab stories that you can jump in, fill in the blank, and you can play that person's
Campaigns.
design. Well, there's campaigns, but there's
Is that what you
another
mean?
one on there too. I'm trying to remember what word they use
Well,
for it.
it looks like it'll do Pathfinder, for instance.
Yeah, it'll do stuff
Like it'll
like that.
basically give you a scenario, a Pathfinder scenario.
Let me pull up so I can actually find the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, we're both little.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I actually have the old one bookmarked. It used to be dungeonai.io was the old thing for it, which will still redirect you to aidungeon.com.
Oh, look, it even handles like different rule sets of Pathfinder, like different versions. That's cool. Oh, you want to know what they use to generate this?
What? Well, they actually have several different
ChatGPT.
ones. They have a few different models.
Yeah. Well,
They used to
Okay,
not. So
well,
I remember when
I
they
don't quite
announced
understand.
that they integrated ChatGPT into it. But that wasn't the original model that they used. And they still have a few different ones. And they've got different, I guess, modified versions of GPT, since there's like the open license, that do different things specifically. And there's a dynamic gameplay, which depending on how it feels your decisions are leading, it will jump between different models.
yeah, it looks like it's quite complicated. It says new AI models. We're pleased to introduce our three newest experimental AI models, Pegasus, three different types. To create these models, we use GPT-4o, which I think is the latest released version, to rephrase cliches in model training data. We then utilized our partner OpenPipe's LoRa fine-tuning pipeline to train the Pegasus. That's a
Yeah. So Pegasus is one. They also used to have one called Dragon and Griffin. A lot of their older ones have just phased out because the newer stuff can just do everything the older ones could combined.
Yeah, that's cool. New memory system.
Yeah. But
This actually does seem to be the next frontier. To just briefly,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of instances of both like combining multiple AIs sort of ad hoc, like
Yeah.
for very specific tasks, but also there are now people are building like, I don't know what you call it, kind of a framework that puts AIs into a pipeline in a very structured way
Yeah.
to do
Almost like they're
stuff.
organs in a body, right? Like this organ specializes in this thing, and that organ specializes in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my coworkers has really gotten into this thing called N8N.
Yeah.
That does just that. They've figured out which, or they've
Well, we were talking about
some
this
different things to do.
like 2 weeks ago, and I was saying like
Yeah.
individual models they're coming up to a learning
More specialized.
wall. And yeah, like so to
Yeah.
actually make them better, we're gonna have to start compiling different things on top of each other to make more complex systems. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a neural net of neural nets.
Yeah. Yeah. But especially
Figured out
with
early
AI,
on
I've
that-
played it a lot. So I can recommend it to people who like it. I don't know if they still do. I would imagine as they expand, they brought it back in. But they do have a multiplayer mode where you can like make a multiplayer campaign where multiple people can be in
Looks
there
like it.
together and make decisions. Yeah, they used to have a different name that started with an I. I can't remember what it was. Now they just call them templates, the playable stuff that people make. But they keep changing the names of everything, and it's confusing me. But yeah, you can play off of other people's templates.
Yeah, they're using Stable Diffusion and Dolly to do some of the image generation.
Though you do have to use
GPT-4.
tokens for that stuff. But there's a pixel image generation you can use for free if you just want some images in there, because that hardly uses any power whatsoever.
Oh, this is really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm about to have to show this to my buddy.
Yeah, I've been jumping
buddy
in
at
and out
work
of
who's
it
into this kind of
periodically
stuff.
for years now. I don't want to spend too much time in it because it is something where if you get started on something, you can just like suck away time. It's something like maybe once every other month I might do like a campaign for a night or something,
Very cool.
I also,
Nice.
after I'm done, just as a self-check, I delete the campaign. Like I'll play 3 or 4 hours of it and then I'll delete it so I'm not tempted to go back to it. It's like, okay, maybe next month or so I'll do this again. Because like I said, you could easily just suck away hours and days of your life doing that and be like, what was I doing?
Yeah. Was it Fischoso that asked about using AI in games to kind of like, just imagine, eventually they're really going to do that really, really well. And
you'll never leave the game.
Man.
Yeah.
Just give me like a neural interface where it's just virtual reality and all the characters are as realistic as humans in terms of speech and actions. It's like,
and a lot of
why would
people
I
are
go
that
back to
way
the real
too,
world?
right? Like me, I prefer even if you could make the game as realistic as possible, I would still prefer the real world. There's the tactileness of the world itself. Like you could even give tactile feedback. It's not going to be the
that
same.
can be solved.
I know it can be solved, but it's never going to be the same as like lying in the grass and feeling the sun on your face and stuff. But the problem is there's less and
it might
less.
require an implant.
I don't want any implants. But there's what I'm saying is that people like me in that regard, who still enjoy games but they like the outside, are somewhat becoming less and less in society, right? There might be a day where majority of people want to be in the pod. I think that might be a sad day, but hey, that might just be what people want,
Yeah, I mean, it ties back to our conversation about Oreos the other day. Kids are never going to know what they're missing when they've never had, Oreos from 20 years ago that were full of trans fats and so much better than the ones they have.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yep. But you know what? I think it's a good place to stop the show because everything else I had to talk about aside from that, it's kind of just useless filler bullshit. Don't
And I'm hungry.
make AI Darth Vader say slurs. I mean, he's going to do it enough now anyway. He doesn't need your help. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you liked it, please share it out with somebody else. And if you really liked it, always consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Really helps us out. It's on the screen. You see it all the time ticking as we're on the show. And we'll see you guys hopefully no later than Monday. I know we didn't have a show last week, but overall we're all feeling better. So yeah, see you then.
And don't date robots.
Unless, that particular robot deserves it. Don't blindly hate robots.
No, I said don't date robots.
Oh, date robots. I thought you said hate. You could date a robot. You know why? Because I don't think Futurama is a problem. I think the robot's probably going to dump you, honestly, person out there. You think you're really entertaining enough to keep a robot's interest long term? I don't think so.
All right.